Welcome back to Euro Football Daily. Today we're counting down 10 clubs that got worse after making a marquee signing. Let's go. 10. Arsenal. In the summer of 2019, Arsenal fans were still very much split over manager Unai Emery. The side's performances hadn't improved massively, they missed out on Champions League football after losing 4 of their final 7 league games, and were schooled by Chelsea in the Europa League final. However, they did reach a first European final since 2006, finished higher and with more points than in Arsene Wenger's last season, and enjoyed a busy summer, with the signings of Kieran Tierney and £72 million man Nicolas Pepe in particular gaining the club a lot of hype. Pepe had been the breakout star of Ligue 1 the previous campaign, with Kylian Mbappe the only player to register more than his 33 goal involvements. So while it was widely considered that the Gunners had overpaid for him, he still looked like an excellent acquisition. However, with Emery's side struggling in the early months of the campaign, the Ivory Coast international didn't make much of an impact in the final third. Emery was sacked in November and the Gunners won just twice between October and January, finishing in 8th, their lowest placing since 1995. Pepe meanwhile started just 22 games and registered just 11 goal involvements, far from a total disaster, but not enough to save an incredibly under-par league campaign. 2 years on and we're still yet to see Pepe fully take off at the Emirates, while Arsenal remain a mid-table club. 9. Man United. Thanks to @Antonio Swama on Twitter for this one. 18 months before Nicolas Pepe stepped into the Emirates, Arsenal said goodbye to Alexis Sanchez. He'd been a force of nature in North London, at points without equal among Premier League attackers, and in 2016-17 became the first Gunner since Robin van Persie to hit 30 goals in a season. But the swap deal that took him to Man United in exchange for Henrik Mkhitaryan didn't go to plan. Having played wall-to-wall club and international football for a number of years, Sanchez was beginning to decline physically, and he struggled to make an impact in Jose Mourinho's restrictive system. Having looked like genuine title challengers in the early weeks of the 2017-18 campaign, United fell off in the final months, scraping unconvincing wins over lesser opposition and losing to the likes of Newcastle and West Brom. Sanchez, who was widely expected to occupy the right wing, a problem position for United and where he'd been at his most devastating in Barcelona, was deployed exclusively on the left, and later admitted he wanted to return to Arsenal after his first training session. United finished 6th the following year, and Sanchez's huge wages hampered their transfer budget for a number of windows. 8. Juventus. On a personal level, Ronaldo achieved great success at Juventus. He became the fastest player to reach 50 Serie A goals, set a new Italian record for goals in a calendar year this century, and equalled the Juventus record for most goals in a season. But in hindsight, spending almost €120 million on the ageing forward, plus the huge wages that came with it, did not pay off in footballing terms for the old lady. Juve won the league with 90 points in CR7's first season, but registered their lowest goal tally since 2012 and their highest goals against tally since 2011. They won the league in far less convincing fashion the following year under Maurizio Sarri, and despite Ronaldo scoring 29, scraped Champions League qualification by the skin of their teeth in 2021. And of course, they came nowhere near the European Cup. Having made the final twice in the 4 years leading up to Ronaldo's arrival, they went out in the last 16 twice in 3 seasons with him leading the line. Having pinned all their hopes and much of their budget on one player, Juve paid the price, waving goodbye to 9 years of Serie A supremacy and falling further behind their European rivals. 7. Barcelona. You'd have to cast your mind back around 20 years for the last time Barcelona were in a crisis similar to the one they are now. While the specific metrics of their financial woes were somewhat different, they were nevertheless in major decline, finishing outside the top 3 in La Liga in consecutive seasons after the controversial sale of Luis Figo to Real Madrid, despite reinvesting heavily on stars like Marc Overmars and Argentinian wonder kid Javier Saviola. But their business in the summer of 2002 looked pretty good, signing highly rated playmaker Juan Román Riquelme from Boca Juniors and loaning Gaizka Mendieta, one of the most complete midfielders in Europe at the time, from Lazio. But under returning coach Louis van Gaal, the side's performances dipped even further. By February 2003, they sat in 15th, eventually managing to climb to 6th following Van Gaal's resignation. For context, they hadn't finished below that since 1942. Mendieta and Riquelme both left the following summer, with new president Joan Laporta bringing in Ronaldinho and Frank Rijkaard, kicking off a new era of glory at the Camp Nou. 6. Wolfsburg. Following a superb 2014-15 campaign in which they finished second in the Bundesliga and won their first ever DFB Pokal, Wolfsburg said goodbye to Kevin De Bruyne, who had registered 15 goals and an outrageous 25 assists across the Boolean Europa League, and also sold Ivan Perisic to Inter Milan. With the proceeds, they spent €43 million on Schalke winger Julian Draxler, setting a Bundesliga record that wouldn't be broken for 4 years. But while the German youngster had impossibly big shoes to fill, few would have foreseen just how much Die Wölfe were about to drop off. As the club's owner Volkswagen became embroiled in a scandal over deceptive emissions tests, the side struggled on the field. Despite making an impressive run to the Champions League quarter-finals, they finished 8th in the Bully, with Bas Dost their top scorer on 8. German publication DW later reported that plans for a new €40 million academy facility were scrapped shortly after the scandal broke, and that much of the profits from the De Bruyne and Perisic sales had gone straight to the car manufacturer rather than into the club. Having been under the steady guidance of Dieter Hecking since 2012, the club got through 4 managers in less than 2 years, finishing 16th in both 16-17 and 17-18. Luckily, they won the relegation playoff on both occasions and have reinstated themselves among Germany's top clubs in the years since. 5. FC Kaiserslautern. At the suggestion of You'll Never Walk Alone Germany, we hop over to Kaiserslautern, one of the Bundesliga's big hitters in the 1990s. They won their first title in 1991 and after getting relegated 5 years later, bounced straight back up and became the only newly promoted side in history to win the Bully in 1998, with the 21-year-old Michael Ballack making his debut for the club that season. The following year they dropped to 5th but did make the Champions League quarter-finals, and that summer signed World Cup winner Yuri Djorkaeff from Inter Milan. The Frenchman was superb in his first year, registering 11 goals and 5 assists in the Bully, but the sale of Ballack to Bayer Leverkusen hurt them, and the side finished 7 points worse off than the season before. They dropped to 8th the next campaign despite the emergence of a young Miroslav Klose, while Djorkaeff's output also fell significantly, and they were humbled 9-2 by Alaves in the UEFA Cup semi-finals. The former Monaco man fell out with manager Andreas Bremer soon after, later claiming that the German club tried to destroy him, and after being wooed by Sam Allardyce, moved to Bolton Wanderers. Kaiserslautern meanwhile hit hard times, coming to the verge of bankruptcy and starting the 2003-04 season with a points deduction. They were relegated in 2006 and now ply their trade in the 3rd tier. 4. West Ham. The football world looked on in disbelief when West Ham signed Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano in the summer of 2006. And following a season in which the newly promoted side had finished 9th in the Premier League and came seconds from winning the FA Cup, it looked like the Hammers were on a steep upward trajectory. But just as confusion and controversy surrounded the club's ability to sign 2 of world football's biggest talents ahead of Europe's elite, results on the field fell off. The Hammers lost 5 of the 6 games following the pair's arrival, with Mascherano hardly featuring and Tevez unable to get on the scoresheet. Alan Pardew was sacked in December with the club in the relegation zone, Mascherano moved to Liverpool in January, and by the beginning of March, the club was rock bottom of the table. That same month, Tevez finally scored his first goal for the East Londoners, and inspired a late season flurry of 7 wins from 9 games to keep them in the top flight. However, it wouldn't be until the signing of Dimitri Payet in 2015 that the Hammers found a true talisman to take them up the table. 3. Real Madrid. Arguably the final true blockbuster signing of Florentino Perez's original Galacticos programme, David Beckham's move to Real Madrid in 2003 sent shockwaves through the football world. But while the English star's arrival did wonders for the Spanish giant's commercial endeavours, with the club doubling their revenue between 2001 and 2005, it didn't make for success on the pitch. That same summer, they sold French destroyer Claude Makelele to Chelsea, and wouldn't sign a replacement for 18 months, bringing in Thomas Gravesen from Everton. Integrating Beckham, Zidane and Figo into the same midfield left a far from world-class backline desperately short of protection, and Los Blancos conceded 54 La Liga goals in his first season, losing 6 of their final 7 games to finish 4th. They wouldn't win any silverware for the next 2 campaigns either, falling well behind Frank Rijkaard's Barcelona, and it was only in 2006-07, by which point Figo and Zidane had left, that Beckham tasted glory at the Bernabeu. Having signed Mamadou Diarra, Fabio Cannavaro and Sergio Ramos, and with Beck's former United teammate Ruud van Nistelrooy up top, the side had a much better balance in Fabio Capello's second stint in charge. But even then, they only pipped a declining Barca side to the title on head-to-head. 2. Chelsea. Thanks to @MissMars678 for this suggestion. When Chelsea signed Andriy Shevchenko from Milan in 2006 for a then British record £31 million, it was greeted with jubilation. The club had been after him for years, with manager Jose Mourinho marking the move as a day when the dream became reality. A Ballon d'Or winner and the Champions League's all-time top scorer at the time, Shevchenko's arrival cast doubt on the future of Didier Drogba, who despite helping the side to 2 Premier League titles had yet to fully convince the Chelsea fans, who even booed him towards the end of the 2005-06 campaign. But it turned out the Blues didn't really need another striker after all. Drogba exploded the following season, hitting 33 goals in all competitions, including the winner in the FA Cup final, while Shevchenko scored just 4 in 30 league appearances. Their main challengers Man United meanwhile had addressed their problems in midfield and defence by signing Michael Carrick, Patrice Evra and Nemanja Vidic that year, and it paid off as they pipped Chelsea to the title by 6 points. Mourinho left the club in September 2007, with reports soon emerging that he had in fact not wanted the Shevchenko transfer, and they wouldn't win the league again until 2010, by which point the Ukraine legend had returned to his beloved Dynamo Kiev. 1. Shanghai Shenhua. Making our second appearance on this list at the suggestion of @AshtonWood on Twitter is Carlos Tevez, whose move to Chinese Super League outfit Shanghai Shenhua caught the full attention of the football world at the end of 2016, not least because of the pay packet he was set to receive. According to reports, Tevez earned the equivalent of £615,000 a week at the Hongkou Stadium, which worked out to £60 a minute, making him the highest paid footballer in the world at that point. But he only lasted a year before returning to Boca Juniors, referring to his time in China as a vacation. And it certainly seemed that way to fans, who quickly grew tired of his disappointing performances and supposed lack of professionalism in Shanghai. And he hardly did much to endear himself with the local fanbase, calling Chinese players naive and stating that the country wouldn't catch up to the standards of European football for 50 years. A damning indictment considering the huge amounts being invested in the national game at the time. And then of course there were the performances. He made just 16 Super League appearances and scored just 4 times as the club finished 11th, their worst placing in 6 years. So those were our 10 clubs that bought a superstar and got worse, but do you have any more suggestions? Get them down in the comments below, and who knows, we might do a part 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a like, and why not click on screen right now for another Euro Football Daily banger, and of course don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.